The Final Fantasy franchise has now been around for almost 40 years. Now with 16 mainline games and well over 100 titles, Final Fantasy has some of the most iconic and memorable games in the entire video game industry. Here are 10 of the most expensive Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest was released in 1992 for the Super Nintendo. A spin-off of the mainline Final Fantasy series, this game was designed specifically for Western audiences, especially those new to RPGs. In Mystic Quest, you play as Benjamin, a young hero chosen by fate to restore the balance of the world. Benjamin travels across various regions, battling monsters, aiding allies, and ultimately confronting the Dark King at the top of Doom Castle. Many consider this a training wheels RPG, with no random encounters and simplified turn-based battles. Companions are even AI controlled, making it a very low management experience. It is not canonically linked to the main FF series, but it did introduce many Western players to the genre. It is often remembered fondly as a gateway RPG, despite its lack of many traditional RPG elements. A brand new sealed Final Fantasy Mystic Quest goes for about $500. Final Fantasy II for the Super Nintendo is actually the North American localization of Final Fantasy IV. Due to skipped entries in the series' Western releases, Square renamed Final Fantasy IV to Final Fantasy II when it launched in 1991 in North America. In Final Fantasy IV, you play as Cecil Harvey, a conflicted Dark Knight and commander of the Red Wings. After being ordered to steal magical crystals from peaceful nations, Cecil begins to question the king's motives and ultimately rebels. The North American SNES release was heavily censored and simplified. It featured a lower difficulty where enemy stats were nerfed, character depth and the storyline were softened or made ambiguous. Despite all this, FF4 was widely considered one of the best JRPGs of its era, as it set a new standard for character-driven storytelling in RPGs, and laid the foundation for future Final Fantasy games. A brand new North American FF2 for the SNES goes for $540 USD. Now this game is not technically even a Final Fantasy game. Final Fantasy Legend III was released in 1993 for the Game Boy. Despite the Final Fantasy branding in the West, it is actually part of the Saga series developed by Square, and it is known in Japan as Saga 3. The story revolves around a mysterious destructive force called the Pure Land Water Entity, which is flooding the world and distorting time. Three young heroes, Arthur, Curtis, and Gloria, are sent from the future to the present to stop this disaster. The game blends sci-fi and fantasy elements while featuring a plot that involves time travel. A standout feature in FF Legend 3 is how party members are able to evolve into mutants, robots, monsters, or cyborgs. Transformations happen based on items enemies drop at the end of a battle. Meat transforms characters into monsters or mutants, while parts can turn them into cyborgs or robots. FF Legend 3 is worth $545. Another game which is not technically Final Fantasy Legend was first released for the Game Boy in 1989. It is known as Makai Toshi Saga in Japan. It was later released in 1990 in North America under the Final Fantasy branding. FF Legend was actually the first RPG ever released for a handheld console, and it marked the beginning of Square's long-running Saga series, which is known for its experimental and non-linear mechanics. The game takes place in a world structured around a massive tower that connects different realms. As you ascend, you travel through many strange lands. Eventually, you reach its pinnacle for a final confrontation. This game featured three types of characters that would all level up in unique ways. Humans, who would grow by buying stat boosting items, mutants, who would evolve by gaining or losing random abilities through battle, and monsters who transform by eating enemy meat, with results based on a complex evolution table. Fun fact, FF Legend sold over 1 million copies, becoming the first Game Boy title to do so that wasn't made by Nintendo. A brand new sealed FF Legend is worth $560 USD. Final Fantasy VII Remake was released on April 10th, 2020, and as you might have guessed from its title, it is in fact a remake of Final Fantasy VII. The First Class Collector's Edition was sold exclusively via the Square Enix store for $329.99. It bundled the following items: the base game, a Play Arts Kai figure of Cloud and his Hardy Daytona motorcycle, a hardcover art book, mini soundtrack, a steelbook game case with a Sephiroth design. It also featured exclusive DLC such as the Cactuar summon materia and Carbuncle, which was a digital bonus exclusive to this edition. The main draw and centerpiece for this collector's edition, though, is the high-end figure set with meticulous sculpting, paintwork, and multiple interchangeable parts. A brand new FF7 Remake First Class Edition now goes for about $680 USD. Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 1 was released in 1997. The story follows Cloud Strife, a former elite soldier who joins an eco-terrorist group called Avalanche. They fight against the corrupt Shinra Corporation who are draining the planet's life energy. As the group battles Shinra, a greater threat emerges with Sephiroth, a legendary warrior with sinister ambitions which threaten all life on the planet. Marking a huge shift in the Final Fantasy franchise, FF7 brought the series into 3D graphics, using full motion video and introducing a cinematic storytelling style. It is widely credited for popularizing JRPGs in the West and is considered one of the greatest games of all time. A brand new sealed box of Final Fantasy VII is worth about $720. Final Fantasy III for the Super Nintendo was released in 1994 and is in fact the North American localized release of Japan's Final Fantasy VI. Set in a world blending magic and steampunk, Final Fantasy VI tells the story of Terra Branford, a mysterious girl with the ability to use magic. She escapes the Empire's control and joins a wide-ranging cast of characters on a journey to stop Kefka Palazzo, a deranged court mage whose rise to power leads to a cataclysmic event that tears the world apart. Hailed as a masterpiece with its deep characters, layered story, and technical innovation, it remains one of the most critically acclaimed RPGs of all time. North America's FF3 for the Super Nintendo is worth $950. The Final Fantasy XIII Deluxe Pack is a rare PS3 Asian collector's bundle released on May 27, 2010. It was only available in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Final Fantasy XIII follows Lightning and her allies. It is set in the technologically advanced floating world of Cocoon and the wild surface world of Grand Pulse. Now, the Deluxe Pack includes a PS3 DualShock 3 controller with a custom pink Lightning imprint, the original Final Fantasy XIII soundtrack, a CG art booklet featuring cinematic illustrations, a character poster, custom slipcase and sleeve for the game disc, as well as a PSN Avatar DLC code. All in all, the FF13 Deluxe Pack is worth $1,300 US. The Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster Anniversary Edition with the Anniversary Box was released in 2023. This video game compilation brings the first 6 mainline Final Fantasy games into modern times without too many drastic alterations. Each game has redrawn pixel visuals done by Kazuko Shibuya, who was the original series pixel artist. In effect, each game has been updated and optimized for HD and 16:9 screens. The UIs and menus have also been updated to look cleaner, clearer, and include features like skip cutscenes. The compilation also includes a rearranged series of soundtracks overseen by FF veteran Nobuo Uematsu with orchestral instrumentation. In addition, there's an added option to toggle between the classic chiptune music and modern arrangements. The Anniversary Box itself includes all of this stuff. The Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster Anniversary Edition with the Anniversary Box goes for about $1,400. The original Final Fantasy for the Nintendo Entertainment System was first released in Japan in 1987. The premise of the game revolves around 4 elemental crystals, earth, fire, water, and wind, which have lost their light, leaving the world in chaos. A prophecy tells of 4 warriors of light who would restore balance. You control a customizable party of these 4 heroes, each chosen from 6 different classes. The game that started it all. The original Final Fantasy was the brainchild of Hironobu Sakaguchi, who would have a major role in all things Final Fantasy and Square up until his departure in 2003. It was developed during a time of financial trouble for Square, and was titled Final Fantasy because Sakaguchi intended it to be his final game, if it failed. Ironically, it became a massive success that saved the company, and spawned a long-running genre-defining franchise. A brand new copy of Final Fantasy for the NES is worth $1,650 US. Thanks for watching. Check out my other videos.